this, we're here.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
At Cafe Anyway, 2433.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 2,433. That's the episode for you and for me. And it's Mike Matthews. I am a DJ. Not really. I'm not spinning any songs, so I don't have any discs. And I am not a jockey. I have ridden a horse. It's been a while. It was, I think,
Mike's Daily Podcast.
A birthday present my lovely lady friend and I did around my birthday in 2020.
Mike's
We rode a horse.
Daily.
Two different horses.
Podcast.
In Half Moon Bay.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? It is an absolute treat to walk a horse on a beach. I felt kind of bad. Not exactly light. Over 200 pounds. Less than 300. Trying to not be at 250, but still, I felt bad for the horse. His name was Mr. Ed. No, that's really what it was, Mr. Ed. The lady that ran the horse place said, he's a little ornery, so just be ready. Ready for what? Anything. Okay. I said to Mr. Ed, I'm going to be cool. I'm not going to be a jerk. You lead the way. And we had a great time. Great walk. So would the podcast picture be from that? I don't know. It's just been... I meant to do one yesterday and to keep this podcast daily, as the name implies, but stuff happened. You know what I did just like 5 seconds ago? I was listening to air checks. We call them air checks in radio. You know when you hear a disc jockey talk? The disc jockey will record their chit-chat on the radio, and that is called an air check. And, I've got a lovely picture here from Podcastro Valley. Another one. I've been having quite the series of podcast pictures, so we'll probably do that one today.
And here's today's podcast picture.
See it at MikesDailyPodcast.com. It was a lovely sunset from, I think this was Wednesday. So see it at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And if you want to see yours truly, I do post a video for every podcast, an accompanying video, a short videoette that you can find at MikesDailyPodcast.com along with the podcast pictures. So if you would like to join in that. The late great Basil the Boxer. Yes, I was walking a trail that he and I used to walk on quite a bit. In fact, that's the day I ran into the guy that I hadn't seen in a while, and he asked me about Basil, and I'm like, well, he's been gone for almost 2 years. But this guy, back when I last saw him, did not have this dog that he now has, which is like a boxer on steroids, is a Mastiff. Boxers are related to Mastiffs. Both have the jolly faces, but Mastiffs are a tad bit bigger, and his Mastiff weighed 130 pounds. Named Blue, and she was lovely. Got to meet her. So, here at Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Last podcast, we discussed the last podcast was not the last one ever, because now I've done this one, but we talked about RVs and camping, getting out into the great wide open, as Tom Petty said. What I was listening to, I went to YouTube, and you can find us there at youtube.com/MikesDailyPodcast. But I was watching or listening to their videos, but all you're looking at is at a radio, because these are radio air checks, and they were from like the 60s. There was old Casey Kasem back before he had the countdown. Early 60s when he was on a radio station in San Francisco called KEWB, which was 910. I think 910 now is the Black News Network or Black Talk Network, something like that. But yeah, KEWB. So the Bay Area is well known. The AM radio band back in the day was huge in the Bay Area. In San Francisco, San Jose, that whole thing. Just giants. And I was not living here. Visited the Bay Area once when I was a kid, but did not know, could care less. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, Southern California, and we had KMET. It was all about FM. We didn't really care about AM. We had what was the AM radio station that was big? KHJ was trying to make a comeback, but they were a country station. The Mighty 690, and I don't really remember too much. Kiss FM, which is still around, but that's FM. Oh yeah, that's the name. And they made sure to make sure every time they mentioned the station to mention they were FM, because back in the day when I was a kid, FM was not that big yet. It was on its way, and more people were going, hey, well, I can hear a song in stereo instead of this mono that I hear it on AM. I don't like it when I just in mono. I want to hear both sides of the channels, the left and the right. And when it goes from left to right, I want to hear it, which I would do in your ears right now, but I'd have to do something kind of strange here. Let's see. How would I do? Well, unfortunately, I'm recording my audio in mono. Here, I can do something in post-production right now. I am going from left to right. All right, how was that? That was great. That took all of 10 seconds for me to do 10 minutes. 10. There's a little bit of post-production. Hey, the point is, FM got big. And then, of course, the internet came along and we can stream stuff, and everybody I know is listening on Spotify. And they love that. This podcast is on Spotify. Is it on Pandora yet? That was the question last week. Working on it. So we'll see. The point is, listening to air checks on YouTube is utterly uninteresting to me. Maybe if you are interested in radio and go, oh, I remember I used to listen to that guy when I woke up in the morning. Yes. But for the most part, when you listen to these air checks, the DJs are talking for they were told, don't talk much. It's all about the music. It's not about you. So they wouldn't talk much. You don't really get anything. All you get is, hey, coming up in 5 minutes, we're going to give away tickets to see Eric Clapton and Clapton on the Mighty Big 100. And you're just, whatever. That's a talent. That's talented, that guy. And people talk about it, guys are like, yeah, man, that guy's the best. He was really cool. You know what? He was married 10 times. Good for... Lovely. Wow. That was talent back then. So we go outside a cafe anyway. We bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. 10, the last place on earth. Seriously, when people talk about the legends of radio, it's like, I don't care. I don't know who you're talking about. And you know what? 90% of the people out there don't know who you're talking about. Maybe once upon a time, they had huge ratings because there was nothing else to listen to. So they would listen to him. And everybody heard him because they were forced to. But now, a huge chunk of that population died. So no one knows now. I talked to a guy. I talked to guys and gals and everybody else all the time. But this one guy I talked to, he's in his 20s. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Is that the name of the show? I don't know. I never watched it. That show came after I was in college when that show came out, so I wasn't watching it. I was busy doing homework, going home, watching MacGyver. I could care less what cartoons and kids stuff was on at that time. But I do know it was a big show, and I watched a documentary on YouTube that the kid put together, Yesterworld guy. He put it together. It was awesome, very informative. I went, oh, okay, so this is why I'm hearing all the time, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, Carmen Miranda, Carmen Electra, whoever the Carmen is. And fantastic, that's great. So I talked to a 20-something-year-old, has no idea what that show is either. So I actually have a lot in common with this 20-something. I'm much too old. He's much too young. We don't know who Carmen is. Oh, well. But where in the world... Oh, Rockapella was the band. Where in the world was I going with that? I'm just saying it's stuff that some people find and sit and talk to you and go on and on and on about, well, blah, blah, blah. You know what? This is all useless information. Thank you. Thank you for the history lesson, but it's useless. Go over there on that computer over there and put an entry in Wikipedia, and thank you for your time. I can read that later. But you yip-yapping about, and while you're walking down memory lane, that's great for you, does nothing for me. Thanks. I've just forgotten everything you just talked about some ancient call letters of some radio station that apparently everybody in the world listened to. But now those people are all dead, so who cares? That's how it is. It's cruel. But it's not, radio is not an art form, except for if you talk about the classic radio days where they actually recorded those old-timey shows, and those shows were just so out of the ordinary compared to now that when you listen to them, you go, oh, wow, that really was something. That was a lot of creativity, a lot of writing went into that. There was a lot of work to make it sound good, and it was recorded in front of a live audience, and that's amazing. That's amazing, talented radio. But the average DJ, forget about it. I have already forgotten about it. But like you talk about old-timey or maybe something, other art forms, like movies or even TV shows or books or plays, or now we're getting somewhere. Actual art pieces, painting. My point is, pick up a brush and paint something. But you know, our bodies are pretty amazing. Very resilient. I was thinking about that today. About how you get from a point in your life when you're a kid and you get a boo-boo and you hurt yourself and it heals pretty quickly, to you get to my age, things don't heal as quickly. You deal with pain. A lot of people my age, a lot of my friends deal with pain of some sort or another. Or you have to go through a massive surgery. And there's how do you recover? How do you heal from all of that? And I've been thinking about healing today. And I know I've been lucky so far in my life and had minimal surgeries. None of them have really gone the best possible way. Well, let's see. A wisdom tooth got taken out, and that went okay. I had a thing in my face that had an ingrown hair that had to be removed when I was in college. That left a scar. But hey, I can grow a beard. Now I grow a beard and the scar's hidden because I have the beard. But it was, you get into tricky areas there with surgery. But we can heal. That's what the human body does. It heals, generally. And there are ways to make it a little bit better, to make the healing a little bit more productive. And there are just some basic ideas that I pulled from lifeextension.com. Of course, talk to your doctor, an actual medical professional, if you want more details about this. But just for a quick overview, something to just think about and how miraculous our bodies are. There are 4 different phases to how your body goes from ow to all better. There's coagulation. Your body reduces blood flow to the damaged area right after an injury. It also promotes blood clotting. Then there's inflammation, which is the cytokine proteins that are released by nearby blood platelets that attract immune cells to help fight infection, and it causes swelling. Now, this happened to me. I sprained an ankle when I was a early tween, and I remember, that's the day. So it happened on a Friday. We were playing baseball during lunch, during PE. I had PE at lunch. And isn't PE at lunch the worst? Like, you've just eaten, and now you got to do PE, and you're like full of food, and I liked it better when it was early in the morning. But then I had a PE teacher named Mr. Lovelace, and he showed how that name applied very much so to us. Plus, he extorted us that we were at a Catholic school, and in the morning they asked all the classes, the first period classes, to donate money, offering to tithe. And Mr. Loveless wanted to be the best class, so he would make us do push-ups till we all gave our money. Yeah. My late mother was not too happy when she heard about that. Ugh. But I did, that was before high school, I did sprain my ankle playing baseball. The next day, by the way, I went to Magic Mountain in Valencia. I've been in the Bay Area too long. In Valencia, went to Six Flags Magic Mountain with some friends. I remember one of the friends, the friend of a friend, it was a friend of mine's birthday. That's right. So he invited a bunch of his friends. One of them was Denise Williams' son. Yes, Denise Williams, let's hear it for the boy. This is before that song came out for Footloose. But anyway, I met him years ago. I wonder what became of Denise Williams' son. So I sprained my ankle, and I still had to go to Magic Mountain the next day. I borrowed my grandmother's cane and walked around. And here I am, a young kid. I'm using a cane, and yes, I remember my ankles swelling up after the sprain. That is inflammation at work. Proliferative fibroblast cells and small blood vessels called capillaries grow into the injury site, delivering nutrients and structural support as it's beginning to heal. And then there's remodeling. New tissue begins to take on the same structure as the older damaged tissue it is replacing, sometimes leaving a scar. So with the healing process, to help you to, in preparation for anything that I hope does not happen to you. I hope no bad things happen to you at all. But in preparation for, in case that might happen, it is good to have a clean bill of health now. Start working towards that. Become the healthiest version of yourself before your body endures trauma. That's why you should avoid obesity. Extra fat has a negative impact on your body's ability to heal. Fat tissue is relatively low in blood and oxygen. Your healing body needs blood and oxygen. And excess weight puts extra stress on surgical wounds, keeping them from closing. Obesity is also associated with other conditions that slow down healing. Diabetes, that's not good for healing. It affects circulation, which is essential to getting everything from oxygen to immune cells to the wound. High glucose also increases glycation reactions. That is where sugars bond to protein and fat molecules that they are not supposed to. And that doesn't help with healing. And then there's arteriosclerosis. Oh boy. That word I should be very good at saying, because I've known a lot of people that died from that. Excess arterial plaque impedes wound recovery. It's a condition dangerous for many other reasons too. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the U.S. Get your heart in good working order and your cholesterol in check to stay healthy and heal faster. Obesity also leads to sleep apnea, which is associated with obesity, but can also be a concern for patients who aren't overweight. And that reduces the circulating levels of oxygen your body needs to heal, especially important when your body is recovering from chronic wounds. So you want to eat nutrients that promote healing. LifeExtension.com says you should follow the Mediterranean diet, which is full of lean protein and foods that are low in saturated fat and high in omega-3 fatty acids like fish oil. And those reduce infections, omega-3, and they promote immune health and help you recover after surgery or injury. For optimal results, make sure you're getting nutrients like copper, selenium, zinc. That encourages wound healing. Copper helps your body produce collagen. Selenium helps protect delicate cell membranes from oxidation. Zinc is involved in tissue repair. And keep an eye on your vitamins. For healthy healing, you want to turn to the nutritional alphabet, like vitamin A for skin repair, vitamin C for oxidative stress, inflammation, helping your body synthesize collagen in your skin. And then finally, getting sleep. A healthy diet and normal weight are important before your injury, but you should ease up on the calories after you've been injured, or if you're recovering from injury and surgery. That's because your body actually needs more calories, protein, and micronutrients to fuel your natural healthy response to an injury. But that doesn't mean pig out. For fast healing, stick with healthy foods. Your body needs protein to help reconstruct and repair damaged tissue. You also want to... Healing is hard work. Your body is going to need calories. Chronic sores can need even more oomph, increasing caloric intake requirement by as much as 50%. But you need a balance of carbs and fats. And it's tricky. You want enough carbs for energy production, but you want to keep simple carbohydrates, that sugar, low. Want to keep sugar low. Too much blood sugar can get in the way of healing and increase unwanted inflammation. Get enough sleep. Nowadays they're saying 7 hours, but poor sleep causes stress response, and stress response is bad. So chase that protein intake with a long, lazy nap. Your body will thank you. And then inflammation can make it harder to heal. So you want to try to avoid inflammation and de-stress. And there's other... you need to stay hydrated while you're healing. Water is key to getting the oxygen and other nutrients to the wound site. So drink up if you want to get back in the game. And also there's therapy and working out. Exercise, a certain amount of exercise can help. Of course, consult your doctor with all of that. People who exercise can improve wound healing speed up by up to a week compared to sedentary folks. Just keep in mind your injury location before you work up a sweat. No running on a sprained ankle or swimming when you've got sutures to protect. If you're recovering from surgery, follow your doctor's post-op instructions carefully to ensure you're promoting the healing and not risking setbacks. All that from lifeextension.com. Lifeextension.com. And yeah, I've been thinking a lot about inflation and anti-inflammation and ways in your diet to fight inflation. And I'm not going to go out inflation, and let's fight inflation while we're at it. Good gosh. So I noticed today that in parts of New England and on the East Coast, gas is around a little less than $5, maybe like $4.50. Here in the Bay Area, we are over $5.50, and generally looking around, it's about $6. I know a couple places that are maybe $5.59, but inflation is causing me inflammation. I want to stop the inflammation and the inflation. I want both to go away, don't you? So I'm looking into ways to fight both. That's what I'm saying. So what do you think about all of that? That's a whole lot from Mike's mouth to you. What do you think? 336MM Daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast is. You can email me, MikesDailyPodcast @gmail.com. Please go to my website, MikesDailyPodcast.com, because there are past podcast pictures. There are links to all kinds of places to listen to this podcast. You can hear past shows. And yes, we did go past our 11-year anniversary few days back, about a week or so back. So let's hear it for the boy, Mike Matthews. Let's hear it for you for listening to this podcast. And hopefully this has been helpful. Oh, a little side note. Britney Spears, it was sad news today that she has suffered a miscarriage. I know she was really excited. She was pregnant and looking forward to having a child. She and her fiancé, Sam Asghari, and the 40-year-old singer, Britney Spears, has had a miscarriage. It is with our deepest sadness that we have to announce that we've lost our miracle baby early in the pregnancy, she wrote on Instagram. This is a devastating time for any parent. And she goes on to say, perhaps we should have waited to announce until we were further along. However, we were overly excited to share the news. Our love for each other is our strength. We will continue trying to expand our beautiful family. Now, I want to say that in my days listening to music when I was a kid, it was Madonna. She was the superstar. But we didn't really care too much about her welfare. She was out there and odd, and she came out with that book where she was not clothed in a lot of it, and there was some of her odd music that she put out. But we were fans, but we weren't like obsessed. And I have found that Britney Spears fans really care about her, and the whole video, the YouTube, it was on Netflix. There was a Netflix documentary that talked all about all the stuff she was going through with the control her parents had over her, and how she had no rights. Even though she's super rich, she didn't have any rights. And she had to perform, she would perform and she would do all her music, but she would get very little of that money, and she wouldn't get to see her kids. All kinds of crazy stuff was happening to her. Free Britney and all of that. And so, because of all of the ordeals that she went through, and because of just who she is, I think a lot of her fans, a lot of people that grew up with her, are very close to her, and this news will hit a lot of her fans very hard, and they're gonna reach out to her, and she'll get a lot of sympathy because she has a lot of fans, and she has a lot of people that care about her. And I find it fascinating because I did not see that growing up. We didn't have a celebrity that we were all, oh, I feel so bad for Charlie Sheen. I feel so bad for Molly Ringwald. Or whatever. They didn't have these trials and tribulations that we were aware of. But of course, we are in the internet age and we hear about stuff more. So, anyway, that's the big news that came out today. Mike's Daily Podcast. I try to do the podcast daily. I run into interruptions, things that interrupt my podcasting. But we forge ahead, right? We're outside of Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Look who's here. Hi, Mark! It's Benita the Rodeo Queen! Hell yeah! How do?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
Benita's horse Nilly is here. Tell you what.
What?
He's here.
Oh, hi, Nilly. Yes. And today, speaking of rodeos, was the rodeo parade in downtown Podcastro Valley. I did not get a chance to see it. I was not, back in the day when I had the late great Basil the Boxer, we'd walk down. I'd find out about something like that, and we'd go walking. It gave me a reason to walk him and take him on a nice long walk down there. I remember it being hot and a little too much for him, and I'd always have a huge water bottle in my hand, and I'd be giving him lots of water. But I remember seeing the parade with him. Fun times. I haven't been to the parade. Well, we didn't have the parade for the past couple of years, so this has been the first Rowell Rodeo parade in quite a long time. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mark. I make the delicious root beer. Have some on the...
Thank you. Oh, looking forward to this root beer. Yes. Oh, that's good.
It's a rodeo root beer. You better drink it. I'll cut you.
I just drank it. You see, don't get angry. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley check out the amazing artist. Go to YouTube and type in Dion Ferris. Forget about all these stupid radio DJ air check YouTube videos. They're not important at all. But listen to Dion Ferris, the gal that's saying, I know what you're doing. Yeah. I heard it all over the place in the 90s. Great song, but she is a phenomenal artist. And she's put out a bunch of music. She had a bunch of problems with the record labels, as was per usual with a lot of artists back in the day. Probably still today as well, but she still puts out music, and she's amazing. So look at some of her stuff on YouTube and her live performances. She's fantastic. Okay, thank you for listening. And if you'd like to chime in, like a wind chime, like a wind catcher, like a dream catcher, like whatever. If you'd like to say something, I'm giving up on you. Go ahead and say something. Even though you don't exist, because I have no listeners to this podcast. Nobody listens at all. Unlike all those DJs that had a captive audience because there was nothing else to listen to. The car had only an AM radio, so they would listen to the radio. But now you've got a gazillion things to listen to and watch and all that. But since you don't listen, thank you so much for not listening. And tell all your friends about the show that you don't listen to. But thank you for not listening. If you would like to contact me, here's A-Frame with more info on how to do that.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!